Good day. This is aging Maven aficionado Amy K. Gaskin, and today I'm talking with a joy facilitator. Her name is Agnes Loughlin, and among many, many things, she is a mastery life coach, and I love her to death. She has amazing energy. So, Agnes, welcome to Ask Amy About Aging, and I hope you're doing great today.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to share with you my joy, my wisdom, and just to connect.
I love connecting with people. So, Agnes, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what got you started in becoming a joy facilitator?
Well, it's been a journey. I am a former nurse practitioner, and I've been in healthcare my whole life. And I'm a certified theta healer, emotional healer, Life Mastery Institute coach, how to have more connection.
Wow. So let's get started.
Okay, thank you. So, loneliness has become more of a top of mind issue since the pandemic, but even before that, it was well known that, statistics have shown through Cigna Global Health and ARP. So, Cigna's before the pandemic said that 61% of Americans reported feeling lonely sometimes or always. And this has increased, I think, to some degree.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we were all so isolated. And I think that's when people realized just how alone they were, especially if they were tied to their job or, they were used to going out. It makes it, you have to find a whole new way of connecting.
Yes, and it doesn't matter if you're married or not. There's a whole spectrum of loneliness, and you don't have to be alone necessarily to feel lonely. So, ARP says that 28% of those who are married, recently married, express that feeling of loneliness. And if you've even been married over 20 years, you still find about 28% of people voicing loneliness. And it's interesting to note that loneliness has symptoms. It's not just necessarily it could be anxious or sadness. And I mean, the high end of the spectrum might be depression, but I like to say that some of the symptoms are busyness, procrastination, and health challenges. And a lot of health challenges, there are speakers who talk about that. Dr. Lissa Rankin, like depression and heart challenges are related sometimes to loneliness.
So it could be a precursor to depression. It could be a lot of things. And so we want to recognize when we start to feel lonely and have some tools on our belt to get connected and feel better. Because when you are lonely and depressed, or even just lonely and anxious, it's hard to connect. And I'm assuming, because your life is ups and downs. And so sometimes you're going to feel different than others, so
it's true that we're not always happy all the time, and that doesn't mean that something's wrong, because we are human. We feel a full spectrum of emotions. And I would just love to share a little bit about myself, and my shifting perspective about loneliness and how I evolved connections. So, as a young child, I didn't understand, some of the things that I experienced. But when I was 8 years old, I left my parents, and I went to live in an orphanage for 4.5 years. And
Wow.
I was among a lot of children, but I didn't feel connection or like maybe desire to play with them most of the time. And I found solace in something that, you know, inspired me or stayed with me the rest of my life. And that was a collection of books. And I was drawn to fairy tales.
Ah, I love fairy tales. You can just dive into a book sometimes and you're into a whole new world, and you start reading it and you can't put it down, and it's like I want to go back to that world and I want to see a series because I want more, 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 more.
Yes. Well, I mean, I wasn't into fairy tales forever. I
Right.
replaced it with many things. And well, Nancy Drew,
Oh,
Sherry Ames Nurse, all of that many years ago. But
yes.
I I always had a desire to read and feel inspired.
Hmm.
And I lived with nuns at the time, and I swore I would never become a nun because of my reading. I was inspired to, I need to explore the world.
Right.
So, yeah. So I did get married, had children, and one day in my 40s, I just felt kind of sad, and I was writing, down that I have no friends and I'm not, happy. And I didn't understand what was going on because I was just, in busyness. That was my main way to cover up the fact that I didn't have, deep connection or, meaningful connection. The
Right.
meaningful connection is so important, especially as we age. And I would just go through the motions of life, you know, all those busyness things that you do, cooking, cleaning, taking care of my children, etc. But one day I sort of woke up from what I call a sleepwalk. And it was very interesting. I met a stranger who, was probably in the same boat as me. And it sparked me to want to learn more. And I was confused. I asked someone, about the situation, and he recommended a book. And that book absolutely changed my perspective my whole life.
And what book was that?
It was Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins.
Nice.
And he is deceased now. He was a psychiatrist, but not in the traditional sense. And his whole perspective was about our level of consciousness, that
Hmm.
everyone has a level of consciousness about how they view life. And that really determines your outcome, as to how you perceive things. If you're in the level of anger or resentment, you're not going to connect to others
Right.
as easily. So I really felt happier and more connection, and I wanted to create more connection for myself, and that's what I began to do. And this was like I was like 64 when this happens.
Oh, you're young. You're not old until you're 99, and then you're pushing it. That's what I
So yeah.
always say.
Yeah. So just having an awareness that you might be lonely or that
Yeah.
you might have these health conditions, that having an awareness is the first step to really moving beyond and having more connection. So if you're not aware, you're just sleepwalking.
Right. You're just kind of going through the motions of life and not really connecting with life or anyone. Just the motions.
Yes. And I think a lot of us have limiting beliefs too. That's why yeah, one of the most empowering beliefs that we can have is to love ourselves. And we don't understand subconscious beliefs. And I understand because I've studied it. I think hypnotherapists study it. I'm a theta healer. There's different ways. I think people have more awareness of limiting beliefs, but I think releasing those limiting beliefs about why we block love from coming into our lives. And
Right.
I put a little meditation, theta healing meditation, on my website to empower people to release some of that, because I think it's so powerful. I think there is a YouTube video out there of a little like 3-year-old girl standing on the bathroom sink, looking in the mirror, saying, I love myself. I'm, I love my family. I love this. She was so excited to just connect in her life. And I'll never forget that. That was, but I think as we, get older, we let those limiting beliefs, programs that parents or teachers or someone tell us kind of squash our joy, our wanting to connect. So it takes a little bit of energy to connect, but I think it even takes a lot more energy to just withdraw and, not have conversations.
Well, apparently you have to use more muscles to frown than to smile.
Yes.
So definitely more energy to be down. So, you want to turn everything. So if we recognize that we have some loneliness going on, what are some tools we can use to get back out there and get connected?
That's a great question. I love to support people with tools and little simple habits. So I think that, there are tools. I have 10 on my website that I
Mhm.
suggest. Having conversations with strangers could be a way to connect, a little habit to form. You know, you never know. And even people that you know well, you never know what's going on in their life, because, you might find someone that's angry or upset, and it could be that because someone in their family is ill or their child is, not doing well. You
Right.
never know what's going on beneath the surface. And I love, I have a tool to help people. Also, it's a tool to connect
Hmm.
and envision the 4 areas of your life. So um, it's your mind, your thoughts and emotions,
Hmm.
it's your health. So there's little tools that you can do just to stay healthier.
Nice.
Little tiny exercises, just taking a walk in nature
Hmm.
every day. You can dance, you can sing. I love
My
singing.
mom dances every night to New York, and she does the kicks and everything. And we used to do it via video chat so she could dance with the grandchildren, her great grands. Yeah, so that helps her.
This is your
My mother, yeah, she's still in New
okay.
Hampshire. We're waiting for her to move down. But yeah, so she used to, my grandkids used to live with me. So she used to dance with them. And, it helps her to keep, from, being lonely at night, So, and she
Absolutely
walks every morning. That doesn't matter the weather.
awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, like just envisioning and sort of like setting little goals or steps for
Hmm.
every area of your life. Like if you want to have better relationships, I think, and most of us are unconscious in that we don't consciously plan to connect to others. So
Right.
just being a good listener, just complimenting people. I'll never forget a friend of mine, she was, having a booth to sell something, or talk about herself. And the first thing that she would talk about is to compliment the other person about something they were wearing or how they looked or piece of jewelry. It doesn't matter. Just to compliment people is the first step into starting a connection.
Right. Well, that is amazing, and we could talk forever. And I would love to have you back on my show because I'm sure there's a bazillion things we can talk about, and we could probably even dive deeper into loneliness as well. It's such a big and vast topic. Any final words today?
No, I would just encourage you to, check my website out for my free little gifts and my events, and yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of events, you have a big one coming up, and it's going to be here in Florida, the Ageless Energy Retreat. And you can go right on her website to learn more about it. It's a 3.5-day retreat, and it's in Crystal River, Florida, which is just north of Tampa. She's going to be talking about things that you might be going through, including anxiety, negative thoughts, health issues, interest in self-development, money mindfest, self-worth, and so much more. So if you're interested in learning more about Agnes Loughlin, please go to her website. Again, that is miraclesinwellness.com. And I'm very happy that Agnes joined us today. Everyone needs to believe and have a joy facilitator in their lives, in my total opinion, because we need to know how to be more joyful. So again, this is Aging Maven Aficionado, and I'm with Agnes Loughlin today talking about loneliness. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yes, thank you.